morning. This is Alcoholics Anonymous Daily Reflection for March 11th. It's called Good Orderly Direction. It is when we try to make our will conform with God's that we begin to use it rightly. To all of us, this was the most wonderful revelation. Our whole trouble had been the misuse of willpower. We had tried to bombard our problems with it instead of attempting to bring it into agreement with God's intention for us. To make increasingly possible is the purpose of AA's 12 steps, and step 3 opens the door. 12 steps, 12 traditions. All I have to do is look back at my past and see where my self-will has led me. I just don't know what's best for me, and I believe my higher power does. G.O.D. Which I define as good orderly direction, has never let me down, but I have let myself down quite often. Using my self-will in a situation usually has the same result as forcing the wrong piece into a jigsaw puzzle: exhaustion and frustration. Step 3 opens the door to the rest of the program. When I ask for God for guidance, I know that whatever happens is the best possible situation. Things are exactly as they're supposed to be, even if they aren't what I want or expect. God does do for me what I cannot do for myself if I let Him. And if we look in our it's stickered up, Alcoholics Anonymous big book here. I was just reading, that's crazy, I was just reading on step 3. I just picked my book up again. It's been a minute, and that is a no-no. Because believe it or not, a lot of the answers are in this book. As much as I want to push against it and rail against it, it's just my rebellious spirit. That's part of it. I think it's part of me not wanting to, I think it's me wanting to be able to have an out, to feel sorry for myself, not to drink, but to get in that old mindset of, oh, poor pitiful me crap. And it's ridiculous, but at least I'm being honest about it. I look into here, and step 3 is, let's go here. Step 3 is made a decision to turn our will and lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And it says, the prayer is, God, I offer myself to Thee to build with me and do with me as I will. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of life. May I do Thy will always. That's the thing about the God thing. Like, it's a real hard thing for me, but it's really not. I make it harder than it needs to be because I have to, I'm one of those people that have to prove everything. And that comes from childhood, because I saw so many people lie and say things that aren't true and call me a liar. Which, if I still kept in contact with certain people, they would make me feel like a liar if I ever mentioned the truth, because it makes them feel bad. Because some people can't handle the truth, even if it's truth about themselves. They just can't. They can't take it. Selective memory. And I got to work with a guy yesterday on a temporary job, and man, he knew my sponsor, he knew the people that I know, he's in sober living. I mean, it was totally random. It was really nice. And it kind of put me back in touch with what I needed in myself It really put me back in touch with how I really did. I used to really believe, and perhaps I really was. I feel like I really was in touch with something bigger than me, something unseen, and something that spoke my language. And it was very, very crazy because I had some very spiritual experiences that were kind of mind blowing. And my house lead at my sober living house, I went to my sponsor after I told him what happened. And he said, he went to my sponsor, which was his cousin, and said, I think I need to drug test him. I think he's using drugs. And I wasn't. And my sponsor told him, you don't remember going through step 4 and really having spiritual experiences? Some people get it and some people don't. Some people really have spiritual experiences in this program, and some people don't. And I was just super open to it. I was open to it. And I saw things. I had visions. It was pretty crazy. But when I spoke of this stuff to the older school, the old school generation of AA guys, man, they started crying. And this one older guy, he shook my hand and gave me a hug and said, I'm so happy to hear that this stuff's still happening to people. Because it'd been so long since anyone had come out and in a meeting and said, hey, this stuff opens doors to other worlds. And I lost touch with that. And I have railed against the God thing because, you know what, if here's the thing I forget, I leave out in my thinking, is my parents used the God thing, and these preachers who were banging other women and stealing from the church, you know, that I railed against, that I went against, that I got punished for going against, trust me, they weren't doing God's will. They weren't doing God's work. I didn't see God. I was doing God's work. Because I knew that these people weren't doing right. I knew the people I grew up around weren't. I knew that my family wasn't. I knew that they were wrong. And I was doing God's work. And they call me demon possessed. They still do. So I need to remember that, you know why the world's messed up? Because people aren't doing God's will. And that doesn't mean the Bible. That means that people aren't taking good, orderly direction. That they're not giving their lives over to something bigger. And I forgot about that. I didn't forget as memory, but I forgot. I lost touch with that most important part of my life and the most important part of this program. They are correct. And it is. If you miss the God part, you miss the program. Be open to it. Trust me. I've got an upside down cross on fire with 666 tattooed on my arm. That's religion. That's not God. That's a religion. That's not God. And I remember now. And little things have been pushing me that way. And I have missed it. I have missed that side of me. I have missed that connection with all of me. And I have fought being just a grumpy bastard because I lost my connection. And that was my doing. I think this is the most important Alcoholics Anonymous Daily Reflection video that I've done so far. Perhaps the most important one ever. Because I hope someone hears this that needs it. And then watches my other ones and realize that I was pushing so very hard against God. Against that unseen spiritual thing. Listen, just because I'm connected to it does not mean everyone else in the world is. And just because we, me, you have that connection does not change what others will do. But here's the thing, it'll change our world. It'll change my world. And that's all I can change. I'm not responsible for anyone else's, politicians, cops, lawyers, just your pissed off person on the street. But I think some Christians get it too, and some Catholics and some Buddhists, and man, there's some people who are Muslims, they get it. They realize that it's not the path, it's not the dogma, it's the connection. Can they see God in you? That means God's in here. Because, have I not told you that ye are all gods? If I get that connection, and I listen to this book, it'll connect me straight up. There is something bigger out there. I know for me there is, and I've seen it in other people too. And they're not religious. They don't have a dogma. They don't have a list of sins. Because they don't need them. They have a connection. And that connection's been severed. But it can only be severed by me. It's up to me. I can either cut the phone cord or I can keep it plugged into the wall. So I'm plugging my back into the wall because I was a much better person. I saw the good in things. I was grateful. And cool things happen, and I'm ready for cool things to happen again. I am. Because there's a lot of God winks I'm getting, and I get it. I hear you. And I've missed that part of me, and it was my fault. It was my fault for pulling that cord out of the wall and becoming grumpy and ungrateful. And it affected the people around me and the people I care about the most. And that hurts. That I did that. I did that. Nobody else did it. Nobody else made me do it. What are you doing, kitty cat? Here he comes. But that was That was my bad. And, you know, other people suffered because I decided to disconnect. And I'm plugging it back up. I'm putting it back in the wall. But this stuff is real, and it's serious, and it will change your life, and it will change my life. And I'm ready for that crazy spiritual connection again. And it's up to me. I'm not like, oh, I hope I get it back. No, it's up to me. All I gotta do, I'm plugging it back in to the wall so I can have a direct line to that spiritual world. So life is a spiritual experience instead of a physical struggle. I love y'all. I hope you got something from this, and I'm so grateful that I have supported people behind me, and that I have made it back full circle to where I've needed to come back to, and that I wasn't pig-headed enough to keep kicking against God, as I understand it and us. I love you guys. Plug it back in. Till tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow.